Hello, everybody. I hope you're doing well and your walk is light. Today, I'm flipping the script a little, going a little deeper than the usual spiritual woo-woo stuff from Real Talks. You see, I've been shifting a lot lately in my own personal awareness, and I've come to one simple truth. I don't know what's outside of myself, and I'm probably never going to find it. And honestly, I'm cool with that. Now, I still believe we're all connected, and I still believe there's something higher. But I've realized that spirituality, much like religion, often leaves you guessing. Because in the end, most of what we chase on this path doesn't have a clear answer. So instead of focusing on what might exist beyond this experience, I've started focusing on why we think the way we do within this experience. And I believe I may be one of many who are here to help unravel the programming, the conditioning that shaped how we see ourselves in the world. Because that's what I want to bring awareness to. Not to tell you what to believe, but to show you what I'm seeing in hopes that it sparks something in you to look deeper too. Maybe even to change a few things about yourself in your own little ways for the better. Now, I know some of you won't agree with where I'm headed, and some of you are most likely going to unsubscribe. And that's okay. I've always said, take what resonates and leave what doesn't. No hard feelings. I still love you, and I still hope your walk stays in light. But moving forward, I'm not holding back anymore. Because if we're really going to talk about awareness, we've got to talk about the conditioning that we've all been put through, the kind that led us to believe we're something we're not. So in this first new Real Talk of Real Talks, I want to dig into how we've been programmed to call convenience evolution and call comfort progress. I'm calling this one, we stopped evolving, and you can see it every day if you're paying attention. I watched a video some time ago and revisited it recently about ants and fungus working together. Not just coexisting, but actually communicating. The fungus sends out a chemical signal to the leafcutter ant of which exact leaf it needs to harvest for the fungus to consume. The ants in turn respond instantly, like they're tuned into some kind of ancient frequency that we've completely lost access to. No meetings about it. No committee deciding if it's the most efficient leaf. They just know. And they move. They go, they get the leaves, they bring it back to the fungus, and in return, the fungus produces a kind of sap that the ants can not only eat, but use for construction. They're literally evolving together. I encourage you to watch that short video. The link's in the description. Now, that video, it stuck with me for a while. It made me think about how disconnected we all have become. How somewhere along the line, we lost that natural sense of unity, that instinct to just know what matters. And in this same video, it really hit me back a few years ago when my mother passed away. Because we spent 2 full weeks, count that, 14 days, debating as a family over which urn to put her ashes in. Gold trim or silver? Should it have jewels? What about the finish? What color? I mean, we literally turned her death into a shopping experience. Like we were browsing bathroom fixtures at Home Depot. And the whole time, all I could keep thinking was, somewhere out there, ants are literally evolving with other species, and we're here debating decorative containers for human remains. It may sound dark, but it's true, because that's when it really landed for me. We stopped evolving a long time ago. And I don't mean in some abstract philosophical way. I mean, you can see it in your own life right now if you're willing to look. You see, we've mistaken comfort for what it really is, a trap. Think about your morning. Really think about it. You probably woke up to an alarm you didn't set yourself. Your phone did. Maybe you asked Alexa or Siri what the weather would be like instead of actually just looking out the window yourself. You ordered coffee through an app so you wouldn't have to wait in line. You paid someone to mow your lawn last weekend because it was easier than doing it yourself. Maybe you bought some furniture that came in a box and then paid someone from TaskRabbit to assemble it in your own living room. Every single one of those choices makes sense in the moment. They're convenient. Yeah, they save time. But here's what nobody tells you. Every time you outsource effort, you're outsourcing a piece of your own capabilities. You're trading a skill for a service. And slowly, almost invisibly, you become less able, less resilient, more dependent on systems you don't understand and you can't control. That's not progress, my friends. That's decay dressed up as efficiency. My buddy Jake just told me recently something that stuck with me. He said he realized he didn't actually know how to do anything anymore. Now, Jake's a smart guy. works in tech, makes really good money, but when his sink started leaking, he didn't even attempt to fix it. He immediately pulled out his phone and scheduled a plumber. When I asked, well, why didn't you just try to figure it out first? He shrugged and said, why should I? I can afford not to. And that's the trap right there. We can afford not to try. We can afford not to learn. We can afford not to struggle. So we don't. And then we wonder why everything feels hollow, like it has no meaning. We've turned into the very waste we once only created. There's this old book that I read called The Waste Makers that saw this coming decades ago. He wrote it in the 60s. Links in the description. It talked about planned obsolescence. It's basically about how companies design products to break so you'll buy them again, which, by the way, the government fully supported at the time. But here's the thing that nobody saw coming. We didn't just become consumers of disposable products. We became disposable ourselves. Think about the last 3 things that you bought. How many of them were things you actually needed versus things that just filled a moment of boredom or anxiety? How many of them are still sitting in your closet or your garage or on your shelf, barely used, already forgotten? You bought them because it felt good for about 10 minutes, because clicking add to cart gave you a little hit of dopamine, because shopping feels like doing something when you don't know what else to do. Your relationships, whether professional or personal, probably follow the same pattern. Someone gets difficult, you move on. Job gets challenging, start scrolling through Indeed. Bored with your routine, re-download the dating apps and try again. Everything's replaceable. Everything's upgradable. Nothing requires you to actually evolve through discomfort. Recently, a friend of mine, Lisa, she went through 5 different workout programs in 1 year. Each one promised to be the one. Each one came with new gear she had to buy, special shoes for this one, resistance bands for that one, a whole new wardrobe for the next. But she never stuck with any of them longer than 3 weeks. And when I asked her why she kept quitting, she said something that broke my heart. I guess I just haven't found the right program yet. But that's not it. She's waiting for personal evolution to come in a package that she can order on Amazon. She's waiting for growth to feel convenient, but it never will. Because what we did is we traded progress away. I mean, go back 100 years, 200 years. People had to fix their own tools or they didn't eat. They had to understand how things worked because their survival depended on it. They had to cooperate with their neighbors in their community because isolation meant death. They evolved out of necessity. Survival wasn't a choice, it was the rule. Now, well, now you can go your whole entire life without ever needing to truly depend on another person close to you. I mean, you can have food delivered, entertainment streamed, connections stimulated. You can exist in a completely frictionless bubble where nothing ever requires you to change, grow, or even become capable of doing it yourself. And that bubble is suffocating us. You don't suddenly collapse. You just slowly become less capable, less connected, less alive. And you fill that emptiness with stuff, with content, with distractions that feel like meaning but dissolve the moment you look away from them. And while we shop, nature just keeps moving. That's what gets me. While we're arguing about whether to get the leather couch or the fabric one, ants are still figuring out how to build better colonies. Fungus is still finding new ways to communicate across forest floors. Trees are still adapting to changing climates. Bacteria are evolving resistance to our drugs faster than we can make new ones. Everything in nature is still in motion, still adapting, still becoming more sophisticated, more integrated, and more resilient, except for us. We hit a certain level of comfort and we just stopped. We decided that we'd rather perfect the couch than perfect ourselves. We'd rather upgrade our phones than upgrade our consciousness. We'd rather buy a solution than become the kind of person who doesn't need one because we learned it ourselves. And I'm not saying I'm on some high horse. I bought plenty of worthless stuff. I've paid for convenience when I should have learned the skill myself. I've looked at a problem and immediately thought, who can I hire to handle this? Instead of, hey, how do I figure this out? But thankfully, somewhere in the middle of shopping for my mom's urn, looking at option 37 of decorative containers for human ash, I finally realized how absurd it all really was. How far we've drifted from anything that's real. How we've turned even death into another consumer choice. And that's when I started following my need versus want rule, which I made a real talk about a few months back. The link's in the description. You see, the way out isn't what you think. Real evolution isn't out there. It's not coming in the next software update or the next self-help book that you order at 2 in the morning. It's internal. It's uncomfortable. It requires you to do things you don't want to do, learn things that don't come easy, and become someone you're not sure you know how to be. It means fixing the sink yourself even though it's frustrating, growing vegetables even though it's easier to buy them, having the hard conversation even though ghosting is a better option in your own mind, sitting with boredom instead of reaching for your phone, feeling the discomfort instead of shopping it away. Because that's how we evolve, spiritually, physically, and biologically, through friction, through challenge, through doing what matters even when it's harder than the alternative. The ants get it. The fungus gets it. Everything still growing gets it. Evolution isn't about comfort. It's about adaptation. And adaptation only happens when staying the same stops working. Maybe we don't need another product. Maybe we need to remember what it feels like to need ourselves again, to be the kind of people who can build, fix, create, and endure, to cooperate because we actually need each other, not because some app suggested it. Nature is still evolving. The question is, are we going to join back in or just keep shopping until there's nothing left to buy? My friends, this is what I'm trying to show you. We've mistaken convenience for progress and consumption for meaning. Every time we outsource effort, we lose a piece of our own capability. The path back isn't through another purchase or another optimization. It's through reclaiming the friction that actually builds us into something stronger. Evolution never stopped. We just decided to sit it out. And if we want to feel alive again, we need to get back in the game, and soon. I love you all. Walk in light.